Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulihil Kareem. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, we are going to talk about Sarah alayhi salam, the wife of Ibrahim alayhi salam and the mother of Ishaq alayhi salam. Sarah is one of the oldest historical figures mentioned in the Quran. She appears both in the Quran and in the Hadith. In Islam, she is understood to be very different from how she is portrayed in other religions. She is portrayed as a woman who was confident that she would be part of Allah's miracles. She displayed the character of a true believer by remaining patient and steadfast. And eventually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewarded her with a child of her own. She was an elderly woman by then, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it possible through His mercy and will. When Ibrahim alayhi salam married Sarah alayhi salam, they were moving around until they found themselves in the lands of the pyramids. In Egypt, at this time, there was an evil king who wanted anything and everything beautiful for himself. Jibril alayhi salam came and told Ibrahim alayhi salam that there is an evil king who might bother you and your wife, so be careful. Ibrahim alayhi salam then told Sarah alayhi salam that if anyone stops you and asks you about your relationship with me, tell them I am your brother. Sure enough, as they entered the city, they were surrounded by soldiers, and the soldiers asked Sarah, "What is your relationship with this man?" She replies, "He is my brother." They then ask Ibrahim, "What is your relationship with this woman?" He answers, "She is my sister." The soldiers push Ibrahim away and take Sarah to the king. The king then forces Sarah to have dinner with him. And while they are eating, the king extends his hand to touch Sarah. And Sarah makes dua to Allah to protect her. As soon as she makes dua, the king's hand becomes paralyzed and begins to hurt. He calls the doctors, but the doctors, they cannot do anything about it. So he turns to Sarah and asks her about it. She replies in a manner that is confident and truthful, and she says, "I am a Muslim. I follow the religion of my husband Ibrahim, who worships Allah alone, the only one God, and there is no creator other than Him. He has given us laws to follow, and you are not lawful to me, nor am I lawful to you. So I made dua to Allah to protect me from you. Hence the reason why your hand is paralyzed." The king said, "Make dua to Allah to free my hand, and I will let you go." And so she makes dua to Allah to free the king's hand. As soon as the king's hands are freed, he advances upon Sarah a second time. And Sarah, again being reliant on Allah and having tawakkul in Allah, makes dua to Allah to protect her. And the king's hands become paralyzed a second time. Again the king begs Sarah to ask Allah to free his hands, and Sarah asks Allah to free the king's hands. Once again, the third time, as soon as the king's hands are freed, he goes towards Sarah. But this time, his whole body becomes paralyzed. Although he is the king, Sarah alayhi salam is above him, because she is in conversation with the King of Kings, the Malikul Mulk, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, the king begs Sarah to let him go, and Sarah asks Allah to free the king, because as a Muslim you are supposed to be merciful. The king then sends out Sarah with a gift, with a maidservant named Hajar. From this story, we can see the piety and the righteousness and the taqwa of Sarah, who cared about her Islam and about her modesty, and who is reliant upon Allah and whose du'as were accepted by Allah. After a few years, Sarah alayhi salam frees Hajar, and Hajar gets married to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Thereafter, Hajar alayhi salam gives birth to Ismail alayhi salam. In the history of Islam, Sarah alayhi salam is a very intriguing figure. From a modern perspective, Sarah is portrayed as someone who is bitter and has to contend with her younger rival in the form of Hajar. However, from the Islamic perspective, Sarah is cast in a very positive light. She does not recur frequently in the Quran and is not mentioned as extensively as other women. However, her story is still important. Modern women can really relate to Sarah in the sense that she has had to deal with issues of infertility. This is mentioned in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about giving the glad tidings of Ishaq to Ibrahim and Sarah through his messengers, in this case his angels. As we know, these angels came to the house of Ibrahim, and to entertain his guests, Ibrahim alayhi salam served them a roasted lamb. Ibrahim alayhi salam then started eating to encourage his guests, but he noticed that they did not attempt to touch their food. And while this is going on, Sarah alayhi salam is in the corner, keenly observing these people who are strangers to her. The angels turn to her and deliver the glad tidings of Ishaq, and after Ishaq, Yaqub. This news makes her laugh and it delights her heart, because remember, she has lived for so long. Some say she was 80 years old when this happened, and she and her husband have been trying for years to bear a child. She has seen Hajar give birth to Ismail, yet she is a strong and confident woman who is steadfast and who has trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his decree. She replies to the angels in astonishment and amazement. How am I supposed to give birth when I am an old woman who is barren and sterile, and here is my husband who is as old as me? How are we, an elderly couple, going to have an offspring in this late age of ours? In this story, she comes across as a candid and forthright figure who expresses astonishment at this news. And the angels say to her, and they are called messengers because they are emissaries from God, and they say to her, "Are you surprised from the command of Allah? For verily this is Allah's mercy and blessings upon you, O family of Ibrahim." You can tell that she is delighted and surprised that they are going to be blessed with a son in their old age. This son is Ishaq alayhi salam, and from Ishaq came Yaqub alayhi salam, who is also called Israel, from where Bani Israel comes from. So in a sense, she is the root of this long branch of series of prophets and messengers. In the Islamic sources, Sarah does not come across as a woman who is jealous of Hajar and wants her cast out. Rather, she is portrayed as a woman who struggles with infertility and old age and who has to be patient with the decree of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards her with the glad tidings of Ishaq and his miraculous birth. Sarah's story. The story of Sarah is a very human story where she is still managing to be thankful to Allah despite struggling with infertility and old age. We see an holistic female figure who, through the miraculous birth of Ishaq, is exemplifying the way the command of Allah unfolds, and she becomes the matriarch of this whole dynasty of prophets. And these prophets were followed and are still followed by countless believers. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.